Hi there, I'm Heather Reams, Chair of National Clean Energy Week. I'm delighted to welcome you to the 6th Annual National Clean Energy Week Policymakers Symposium. National Clean Energy Week is a celebration of the policies and innovations that power our daily lives while reducing carbon emissions. As global energy needs grow, so does the need for clean energy to play a central role in meeting those needs. The world turns to America and our engines of innovation to make reliable, resilient, and robust clean energy that is affordable and reliable, whether it's for India or Indiana. Still, there are numerous political, economic, and technological challenges, even in America, that hamper the promise of a cleaner energy future. Climate change is one such challenge. Actually, it's a constellation of challenges, and some days it feels like the political roadblocks are larger than the scientific and technological ones. It will take a group effort from policymakers, business leaders, researchers, innovators, and clean energy advocates like you to overcome these challenges together. There is plenty of work to be done, and the Policymaker Symposium is an opportunity to spark important discussions about how we can build better solutions that support a clean environment and a robust economy. National Clean Energy Week is dedicated to bipartisanship. Over the next 3 days, we'll hear from clean energy experts from the public and private sectors and elected officials from different political perspectives on clean energy issues. This type of collaboration is critical to charting a cleaner energy future that benefits our environment, our economy, and our communities. As part of Clean Energy Week, I invite you to join us in recognizing that all clean energy brings us energy independence, economic prosperity, and a healthier climate. I'd also like to thank our many sponsors who make National Clean Energy Week a reality. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the programming.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me here at the National Clean Energy Week Symposium. For those of you that I haven't met yet, my name is Abby Hopper, and I am the President and CEO of SEIA, the Solar Energy Industries Association. SEIA is the national trade association for the solar and storage energy industries, representing more than 1,000 businesses all across the country who are accelerating America's transition to a clean energy future. So last week, I had the privilege of addressing the audience at RE Plus, used to be called SPI. That might be the name you know it by. It's the largest energy event in North America, where over 27,000 clean energy professionals gathered in Anaheim, California, to learn more about what the future holds for our industry. And I got to tell you that the excitement and the optimism at RE Plus was palpable. You could literally feel the energy on the show floor and in the meeting rooms. And while this morning I can't actually see your faces, I'm willing to bet that you share that excitement as well. And if you're not excited about the future of clean energy in America, I'm pretty sure that's about to change because the turning point we've been talking about for years has officially arrived. A little over a month ago, the story of energy in America fundamentally shifted when President Biden signed into law the biggest and most influential climate policy in history, the Inflation Reduction Act. The impact of this historic legislation simply cannot be overstated. For our industry, it means we finally have the policy certainty we need to accelerate the clean energy transformation. And that didn't happen by accident. For years, the Solar Energy Industries Association and our members laid the groundwork for this moment. With the support of many in this audience, we assembled an aggressive campaign that involved tens of thousands of letters to Capitol Hill, lobbying Congress during a global pandemic, forming partnerships with our friends in the labor and environmental community, and much, much more. We worked around the clock with many of you to push the IRA across the finish line. And thanks to that ambition and determination, we now have a chance to realize our long-term goals. 3 years ago, we announced a bold new vision, dubbing the 2020s the Solar Plus decade, a period when solar would grow rapidly to become a significant portion of our nation's electricity mix. And the plus in the Solar Plus decade acknowledges that solar energy is just one piece of a complex and evolving clean energy system. In particular, we know that solar growth will require a massive increase in the deployment of energy storage at all scales. And after the events of the last few years, culminating in the passage of the IRA, We're so bullish at SEIA that we're aiming even higher, striving for solar to comprise 30% of our nation's energy generation by 2030. That's just 8 short years away. And thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, we're closer than ever to meeting that goal. If we can double down and continue pushing big, bold ideas, the solar market will grow 5 times its size today. Will be a $150 billion industry by the end of this decade. Not only that, the solar industry will be powered by 1 million Americans working across every market segment. Americans will be designing, manufacturing, and installing clean energy products in record numbers, and there will be solar and storage jobs in every corner of this nation. The opportunities will be enormous. The Solar Plus Decade vision is now within reach, and it's because SEIA never took no for an answer, and instead said that yes, big, bold energy policy is possible in Washington. The Inflation Reduction Act shows what's possible when our industry and the clean energy industry together works on our shared priorities, and we are so proud to have been a part of that effort. But let me be clear, our work together is just getting started. With this victory comes a responsibility to deliver on the promise of a carbon-free electricity system. We have a responsibility to center equity in the clean energy transition. We have a responsibility to ensure that clean energy projects are secure and reliable. And we have a responsibility to lower costs for consumers and support market competition. So during the remainder of this symposium, I know you'll have ample opportunities to hear about the remaining barriers to clean energy adoption and the steps the industry must take to manage our skyrocketing growth. We will have to forge collective solutions on issues like siting and permitting, land access, end-of-life management, also known as recycling, and trade policy. We have to ensure that our message and our opportunity reaches every zip code and that the benefits of clean energy are available to all Americans. We must continue to cultivate a bipartisan coalition of support for policies and policymakers that foster clean energy growth. And none of these issues are new, and our industry has been thoughtfully tackling them over the past few years. But with the Inflation Reduction Act poised to supercharge clean energy growth, their urgency and relevance has come into even sharper focus. I hope to get the opportunity to see many of you in person this week here in Washington and in the days and weeks ahead. When I do, you may hear me repeat a simple message that has become our North Star at SEIA. With your help, we delivered the most transformational clean energy policy in history, and now the real work begins. I'm excited to have people just like you by my side as we change the course of America's energy economy. Thank you again for having me, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of today's events.
I am delighted to welcome the esteemed members of Congress participating in today's National Clean Energy Week Policymakers Symposium.
Hi, I'm Kevin McCarthy. I want to take a brief moment to recognize your commitment to clean energy and congratulate citizens for responsible energy solutions on what is sure to be another successful National Clean Energy Week. As Republican leader, I've been proud to roll out the Energy, Climate, and Conservation Task Force to prioritize clean, affordable American energy solutions. While Democrats wage a war on our oil and gas producers, we know that America is a leader in reducing emissions, and that natural gas we produce here at home is cleaner than Russian natural gas. While Democrats try to stop American energy development, we know the importance of investing in domestic energy and mineral production to maintain energy security and protect our supply chain from China. While Democrats further rely on our foreign competitors, we know that using our own resources will improve our competitiveness on the global stage and reduce emissions. We know our energy needs will only continue to grow. That's why House Republicans will prioritize comprehensive permitting reform to make it easier to innovate, build, and produce in America. By removing the regulations that increase cost and delay critical projects, we can restore Americans' competitive advantage and ensure reliable and resilient power for American families and businesses. And we look forward to partnering with you to achieve these goals. So thank you for everything you do, for your dedication to finding innovative energy solutions that will protect our pocketbooks, improve our national security, and lead our nation and world into a healthier tomorrow. Thank you, and God bless.
Hi, I'm Congressman John Curtis, and I represent Utah's 3rd Congressional District. And today I want to give a shout out to all of my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, who have joined us in proclaiming this the National Clean Energy Week. Why is this important? Well, first of all, let's acknowledge that anything that we can do on a bipartisan basis when it comes to energy is important. It's no surprise to all of us that this is a critical time for energy and the cost of energy. And what we're developing and working on clean energy here in the United States not only will bring prices down here in the United States, but around the world, and it's clean. And there's no doubt we want to be the developers of this here in the United States. We want to send this across the sea. So much good happening here. Come join us in the celebration of this week, and thanks to everybody who's supporting us.
Hi, it's Congresswoman Debbie Dingell from Michigan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you, albeit virtually, for National Clean Energy Week to talk about some of the big clean energy priorities that I and many of my colleagues are working on in Congress. The Inflation Reduction Act, which we passed and signed into law in August, represents the single largest investment in clean energy, environmental justice, and climate actions in American history. One of the pieces of this bill that I have worked very hard on is support for the transition to an electric vehicle future. The auto industry has demonstrated that it is ready for America to be the global EV leader in the world. And we have to make sure that we are instituting and supporting policies that ensure that is our future. From domestic supply chains to manufacturing to consumer incentives, the policies in this bill will help ensure that we shift from the internal combustion engine to electrification. Increased investments in both the Advanced Technology Vehicle Manufacturing Loan Program and the Domestic Manufacturing Conversion Grant Program are based on legislation that I worked with people on. I authored it, but brought people together. And it will incentivize companies to restore and bring home American jobs that have been shipped overseas. And importantly, there are a series of consumer tax credits, including a clean vehicle credit, previously owned vehicle credit, and an extension of the federal income tax credit on alternative fuel vehicle refueling property, which will bring down the cost of electric vehicles as we're making this transition. We move into mass production, and it's going to make them affordable and accessible to more Americans. We can't have EVs being a luxury automobile. Obviously, this matters to where I come from, my home state of Michigan. It's important to us that we support the auto industry in the shift to electric vehicles, and that we help incentivize clean energy production here in the United States. And that while we are doing this, that we're creating the jobs of the future, good paying jobs that ensure that our workers are staying in jobs. And as we're bringing our supply chain home, we're putting more Americans in jobs. This legislation paves the way for innovation and success, not just in the immediate future, but sets the foundation for long-term sustainable growth as we continue to work towards our goals of a cleaner, safer planet. I also want to say that too many people think national security, economic security, and environmental security are mutually exclusive. In reality, they're all integrated. I'm also very optimistic about the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund in the IRA bill, which provides $27 billion to fund a national climate bank, a very important tool that will help publicly finance and at the same time stimulate private investments in clean, renewable energy projects and clean transportation while supporting communities most affected by climate change. This is a model. I introduced the legislation at the federal level based on legislation that's already working around the country. Existing green banks, including Michigan Saves in my home state, have driven $9 billion of total clean energy investment. There are currently $200 million worth of projects targeting low and moderate income communities, nonprofits, public schools, and affordable housing that are shovel ready, in addition to the $21 billion in clean technology projects that are in the larger pipeline. With so many projects ready to go, it is vital that we establish a central entity to fund qualified large-scale projects and coordinate a broader network of local entities to reduce emissions and support disadvantaged communities in those efforts. We don't have a moment to lose in this climate fight. You're seeing its impact everywhere. Just look at the last week or two and the unbelievable weather patterns we've seen in Alaska, Puerto Rico, and around the world. Thank you all for your commitment to this cause. Only by working together will we reach our goal of a net zero, clean energy economy, and a safer, more resilient, and equitable nation and world.
Greetings, everybody, and I want to begin by thanking Heather Reams and the whole team at CREST for the incredible work that you all do and for organizing this symposium. It's a topic that a lot of people think is boring, a lot of people think it's wonky, permitting reform. It's critical. It's certainly one of the top issues that I've focused on since becoming a United States Senator, and it's something I focused on in my previous positions in Alaska as Attorney General and the Commissioner of Natural Resources in Energy. But it matters all over the country, every state, every community, and let's face it, every industry. As I mentioned, I've been an avid supporter. CREST has been with me and my team in my office along the way the whole time on the great work that they're doing and helping senators like myself on. Some of you might be familiar with my Rebuild America Now Act. This is a very comprehensive bill. It took us over a year to write with a lot of help from folks like you on comprehensive NEPA reform. NEPA has actually never been even remotely reformed or thoroughly reformed since its passage in the late 1960s. Some of you may have followed the Trump administration's outstanding executive order that related to infrastructure permitting. A lot of that was taken from my Rebuild America Now Act. We worked very closely, literally with the president and his whole team on the great permitting reform jobs that they did. Unfortunately, we're running into a brick wall and a reversal with the Biden administration. But just a little bit of history. I talked about NEPA and the need to reform it. You know, a lot of people don't recognize that when the National Environmental Policy Act came out in the late 60s, it was a really good bill, right? It required environmental impact statements, which usually were about 100 pages, if that. They almost always took less than a year, if that. And unfortunately, a good bill intended to bring the public into the process. An American citizen can read a 100-page EIS, right? What's happened, however, is that NEPA has been fully 100% abused and it's grown into a law that courts and far-left radical environmental groups use to block essentially everything. You know, the average EIS now takes about 4 to 6 years in America. Thousands of pages. They cost millions of dollars. Think about it. The very idea of NEPA to get the average citizen involved has been turned on its head. No average American citizen is going to read a 5,000-page EIS. The only people who do are the far-left groups who want to use every single word to go to a judge and try to block a project. It is completely broken. And of course, NEPA now has been used to delay and stop pretty much every kind of project all over the country. Unfortunately, for my state and the constituents that I'm honored to represent, Alaska is ground zero for this. We recently had, believe it or not, a road that went through its final EIS during the Trump administration, Secretary Lane Chao, on the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. The EIS took over 30 years. 30 years for a road. We had a mine, the Kensington mine, that actually is now producing gold in southeast Alaska. It's got almost 400 employees, average wage $110,000, really good wages, 20 years to permit that mine, if you can believe it. And we had to throw a Hail Mary pass to the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse a misguided NEPA-related decision by the Ninth Circuit to get that mine going. So the point is that this is an issue, permitting reform, the abuse of NEPA, that literally hurts every single American. Whether you want to build a wind turbine or a solar panel or a hydro project or a airport runway or a gold mine or an oil and gas development, it blocks everything. All of the above energy is all blocked by NEPA. So we as a country, I believe, are starting to finally wake up to this issue that's bedeviled my state for decades. And we're starting to take action. Some of you may have seen, Cress was very helpful on it. I had a Congressional Review Act resolution that passed in a bipartisan manner a couple months ago, rescinding the latest Biden administration NEPA rule out of the Biden White House. It would have crushed the ability to build infrastructure, all infrastructure. Yes, that passed. Usually that gets a round of applause. Okay, that passed, rescinding a Biden administration NEPA reg. We're trying to move that in the House. President said he's going to veto it if it comes to us. That's great. Let's see who he stands with, the men and women who build stuff in America or the radical environmental far left that wants to shut it down. I think most Americans stand with the workers who build things. So that's the side that we're on. We want our country to be strong. And this is one way to do it without cutting corners, right? We all want a beautiful, pristine environment. We have that in Alaska, but you can do both. You can build roads, bridges, energy developments, and also protect your environment. That's what we do in Alaska every day. That's what we do with common sense permitting reform. We have to get there. A lot of discussions in the Senate right now as we speak about this. And I'm going to keep working it as long as I'm a U.S. Senator with your help. So thanks for the great job you've done in this critically important area for our nation, certainly for my state. We want to continue our work with Cress and all the great work they do. Thanks a lot.